Gurkha blade. Fuck, I thought. Mate gave it to me, I told him, trying to play it off as no big deal. So why do you have it? Do you know what will happen to me if I get caught with this in the flat? I didn't answer him. He had a fucking big blade, and although seemed shocked and calm, he could turn at any minute. I kept my hand on the kettle. Boil, boil. I panicked, trying to speed it up. One step, it's going over him, I said to myself. The front door was locked. It was always locked, so either way, he'd have time to grab me. But I'd cross that bridge when I came to it. I'll go back to fucking prison. That's what, he explained. Is that what you want? He stormed. Do you know what it's like in there? If it hadn't escaped your tiny little brain, I killed someone with a knife, and you bring this fucking thing home? The kettle had boiled, and I slowly poured the water into 2 cups. I placed one to my left, not taking my eyes from his feet now he'd moved a step into the kitchen, blocking my only exit, whilst I kept my right on the kettle. Then I moved the other cup to the left with my left hand too. It was hard trying to keep track of him, and not make my actions look like I was obviously covering all the bases. Whichever side I was on, if he moved, something hot was going over him. You idiot! Get rid of it, he said, stepping forwards. As he did, I lifted the kettle and stepped back, bringing my arm down fast. The room seemed to stand still for a few seconds. Then he placed the blade on the kitchen counter and said calmly, Get rid of it. Then he backed off. Fuck! Why me? He shouted, slamming his bedroom door. I don't know what changed in me. Something did. Maybe it was those few seconds. Maybe it was the build-up of emotional shit I'd not dealt with. Maybe I wanted to die, or maybe it was the thought that maybe, just maybe, I'd cut his head off if he attacked me. All that and the fact that I was terrified and trying not to show it made me snap. I didn't know, did I? It's a Gurkha blade. It's beautiful. I liked it. It's mine. I don't know why I suddenly expected him to crumble and be crying beneath the bed sheets. It didn't quite happen like that. The bedroom door flew open. You didn't know? He took 2 steps forward with his head down. My head went down, not meeting his eyes out of instinct. You didn't fucking know? He sneered, 2 steps between us. Do you know how stupid you are? After all my practicing, I couldn't move. My arms were by my sides, and I was back a little child, unable to move and preparing to be hit. I watched his feet. He calmed instantly. I'm sorry. Of course you didn't know. It's okay. I'll get rid of it for you. So just forget it, yeah? We'll see Cass tomorrow and it'll be great. It's only for a few months, till we get settled in, get to know each other. It's just teething problems, that's all. His voice was sickly sweet throughout the whole speech. He was up to something. It wasn't good at all. He was being too nice, and I'd caught it. He'd tried to hide it, but I got it. Only for a few months. He had plans that either didn't include me, or worse, were for me. Sorry, I said. He lifted his hand fast to pat my head, as I blocked and sidestepped automatically. He left his hand against my forearm. I won't hurt you. He smiled, seeing my fear through my response. Come here, he said gently. I knew he was turned on. It's okay, I said. I get it, you were mad at me. We're good. I'm sorry, it was my fault. I replied, taking a step back, and with an ice-cold tone which seemed to vibrate through the air and through me, he said calmly, No, you don't get it. I've been through a lot more than you'll ever know. If I was mad at you, you'd fucking know it. Clear? Clear, I said softly. Where's that brew? He added. I won't lie. I thought about it. Take his brew with the Gurkha blade stuck down the belt of my trousers. Hand him his brew. Take his head clean off while he's preoccupied. Had he just threatened to kill me? I thought, fantasizing about his head hitting the floor with a thud. What if I couldn't do it? What if the head didn't come off? What if it shocked him and he bled out but didn't stop coming at me? Then what would I do? I took the brew in. We were in the car on the way to Cass's. A song by The Police was playing in the car. Apparently my music was shit, so we were listening to Wenzel's Police album. We reached St. Helens, and Wenzel said he just had to see a mate first. I could come in, but not touch anything. I had to do exactly as I was told. We went into a big house. The kitchen was massive and had what looked like marble sideboards. The guy we met was white, at least 6 feet tall, with a bald head, and was around 35. He had arms the size of my waist, a white t-shirt and blue jeans. "This your boy?" he said. "Yeah," Wenzel replied. "He won't say anything," he added. I wasn't sure if he was talking to me or not. "Wait in the living room," the big guy said, glancing at me. His eyes were grey like Wenzel's. I looked at Wenzel, who gave the slightest nod, a warning, "Don't touch anything." There was a girl sat in the living room doing absolutely nothing. His daughter, I wondered. She sat bolt upright, staring straight ahead. I nodded, as I'd been told not to talk. She didn't reply. I tuned out the room and everything in it and tried listening to Wenzel. "Sort it for me," the big guy said. "Yeah, I will," Wenzel said. He was scared of this man, but he was trying not to show it. "Yeah, do it." I couldn't hear the rest, just some kind of exchange, by the sounds of it. When we got back in the car, I asked, "What was all that about?" "Nothing. You never went there," he said. Kaz opened the door. She was 4'8" at most, smaller than me, and I was 15. She had close-cropped, shaved red hair. Older than I expected and thin. She wore blue jeans with white trainers and a cream top. She seemed happy to see me. "You don't know what he's been through. He's missed you so much. I'm just happy to see you again," she said genuinely. "Again?" I thought. "To see him," Wenzel said. "Yeah, well, I've seen pictures, haven't I?" Cass said, catching the lie. Something wasn't right. Cass was nice, but she was hiding something. "Bet you're hungry, aren't you?" she asked me. I looked at Wenzel, who nodded. "Yeah," I replied. She made the best burger and chips I've ever had, and I ate the lot. The hall was tiny. As soon as you entered, you were in the living room. Chaplin Street wasn't exactly big, though. The living room had a huge stone fireplace and an alcove leading to a dining area. We never used the entire time I was there. The display cabinet was brown and had porcelain dolls in it. At least I thought they were. Turns out that each was a Liladrol, which is a special type of expensive doll. She had others in the corner of the room that wore dresses. As I was taking in the details of the house, Wenzel was speaking. "Here I am Tracie 1, and you are Tracie 2. Whilst here, you're not my son. You're a work friend. Don't call me Dad. We don't want to upset the kids, do we?" He asked me, sat on the sofa, just in his jeans, with his damaged foot on show. He twitched it when he talked. "Okay," I said, matching his flat tone with my own. This was no surprise. I felt it for a while. I didn't exist, and when it came to him, that's just how I liked it. "Brew, Gilbs?" Cass asked. "Gilbs?" I asked automatically. "It's what people call me round here," he said flatly, and then shot Cass a look. Larry and Jade were brought downstairs. Jade was small and round with jet black hair, a cute kid. Larry was skinny and taller with fair hair, and he reminded me of Jonathan. He was younger than Jade. We all played football in the garden, which was also tiny. I needed to be out, though. There was a field about 20 feet from where Cass's house was. Not like target, but it was better than nothing. We could see it, but we weren't allowed to play on it. I was to be seen with Wenzel as little as possible. "Why the big secret?" asked Wenzel when we were alone. "If social services know I have a girlfriend, she'll be investigated, and she's got 2 kids already," he said. "So?" I asked. "Well, there's only 2 bedrooms for a start. They wouldn't have you sleeping on the sofa, would they?" he told me. "I don't mind," I replied, knowing that something wasn't adding up. I could actually get used to Larry and Jade. They were cool, and Cass, well, she'd never take the place of Mom, but she was okay too. She was on night duty a lot at the hospital. Larry and Jade went to bed and left Wenzel and I watching TV. It was more fun when Cass was there, because she'd watch music channels and sing along. I often wondered if Mum hadn't been killed or hit by Wenzel, would she have sung along too? Wenzel would often wind Cass up the way he had done to Mum, but not as bad. Usually he'd just take the piss out of whatever was on TV, until I sided with her. I did it the right way. I'd explain why she was right about something as trivial as a guy on TV wearing a pink top not meaning he's gay. I'd get the same answer most of the time. "Don't you start to," he'd say. But then that was usually the end of it. However, on this day, he'd been jabbing her for ages and slapping her arse when she walked past. He'd indicated he wanted me to slap her arse, and I hadn't. The next time he told me to shut up. I replied, "Okay, Dad." It was funny, because he was Dad, whether I liked it or not, and because I wasn't supposed to call it him. He couldn't say anything back. I had him, and he knew it. He was sat in blue jeans, a white t-shirt, a suede jacket, with a gold ring on that Cass had bought him for his birthday with an onyx in it. She cracked up laughing, and I laughed harder because she laughed. He slapped her leg. Not hard enough to be meant. She moved back, laughing. "Do you want a slap?" he said. I looked from the TV straight at him. He looked at me. I didn't move my eyes from his. I could see the scene in my head. He was just another lad at school now, and if I hit him, I wouldn't stop. It wasn't vindictive, it wasn't ego nor revenge. I was just past caring. It was clear, concise, fact. I felt no anger, just a logical sequence of events which would occur. He must have seen it too, because after a good 5 seconds he turned to Cass. "I'm only messing, aren't I, love? Come here," he said jokingly. She curled up to him as he lifted his arm, and I didn't take my eyes off his. I was miles away, surveying a different scene. I was hitting him as he stood up, hitting him as he retaliated, as Cass was screaming in the corner behind me. The kid ran down the stairs. I kicked him over and landed a boot to his face. In reality, we were just there, still making eye contact. He pulled a funny face at me like we were best friends mucking around. It broke my fancy, and I turned back to the TV without a smile nor a word. "Good night," he said later, throwing me a sleeping bag. "It's haunted, though. Be warned," he said, walking out. Thank you for listening. This concludes Tracie's story, and I'm just going to read out the final thought, which I've put in the back of the book here. And yes, with the final thought and with the take care of yourselves and each other, I am emulating Jerry Springer, and there is a very good reason for it. That program was absolutely insane, but at the end of every single episode, he said something insightful. I was having a conversation with a therapist recently, and she said, "Where did you learn the morals and the ways of thinking that helped you?" And I said, the sad truth is, all the decent people that I learnt from were either fictional or were therapists. They got me through. They were people like a lady from SAM, Support After Murder and Manslaughter. They were people like Wendy, a therapist. They were people like Nigel and several other people that I learnt from that I could go on and on about. I just want to say thank you to those around me now, who I will mention at the end of my next book. And if you want the end of my next book on audio format like this one has been done, comment, because I'm more than happy to do it. It's a longer book, but I want to know people are interested. I want to know people are liking, commenting, sharing. I want to know there's some sort of gain from this for them. I need the messages. I need to know this has been useful to you, and how and when and why. So do it and get it out there. And if there's enough helping, if there's enough inspiring, if there's enough prodding in the right direction, or whatever it may be that gets you something from this, then I'll do Checkmate. I'll do the next one for free on Audible. My final thought. I hope you enjoyed Tracie's story as much as I enjoyed writing it. From my earliest memory until age 14, my father was abusive. A story of this depth, this magnitude, if you like, has several emotional implications, and it was as much a healing process as was a need to share my work. Tracie's story allowed me to demonstrate how it's possible to survive many issues and come out the other side. I'd like to think if there's a child out there that's going through similar, they would benefit from my story. The rest of my story continues in Checkmate by Tracie Daily. This will detail how I finally broke free of Wenzel and how I've handled the consequences of my past and become the person I am proud to be today. And believe me, I am proud to be that person today. This quote was given to me on a tiny slip of paper by a neighbour when I was 21. It means so much to me and has aided me through a large chunk of my journey. You can find out why in Checkmate. It's available via my website or Amazon, obviously. Hashtag Tracie Daily Books, and stick that in anywhere, and like a magic genie, I will appear. The quote is, "If I believe I have the ability to achieve something, I gain that ability, even if I did not have that ability to begin with." And the gentleman who gave it to me was derived from a quote by Mahatma Gandhi, and the original is, "If I have the belief that I can do it, I shall surely acquire the capacity to do it, even if I may not have had it in the beginning." I prefer my friend's translation. If I believe I have the ability to achieve something, I gained that ability even if I did not have that ability to begin with. It is so accurate.